Everybody dreams of their dream house on where to live, how big it must be. But do you consider and do you know the cost of buying a house in South Africa? My name is Olivia and I'm an accountant and the owner of Profits and Books, bookkeeping and accounting services. Buying a house is one of the biggest investment, except for a bad marriage. Buying a house is one of the biggest investments you will ever make in your life. But when we see pictures like this, it's a place where we would want to live. It's a place that we dream of. It's a place where you want to wake up in every single morning. But sometimes the budget of what we want and what we can afford, the budget of what we can afford and the dream of what we want, it doesn't always gel together. So today, I'm going to talk about when you buy a house, the pitfalls and the cost. I will start off with one of the most important tips before you even go and look at houses. The first thing you must do is go to the banks in South Africa. Preferably start off with a bank that you bank with and ask them, how much do you qualify for if you want to buy a house? You then ask, what will be the interest rates? What are the requirements? So normally, when you want to buy a house, the first thing they look at is your credit record. Your credit record will depend or will determine whether you are a high risk or a low risk buyer. The higher the risk is, the higher the interest you will pay. The lower the risk is, the less interest you will pay. Yes, that is one of the things that they consider. They look at your credit record, they look at how much debt you have, how you pay your debt, and then if you have any savings, any investments, what are your expenses for the month? So this is all the things that the bank will consider. So when you go to the bank where you're banking and you listen to their conditions, and it's not favorable to you, then you go to other banks to inquire, if I want to apply for a home loan through you guys, what are the requirements and how much will I pay? And then you compare the interest rate that they will charge you. Most important, because I was surprised to learn that some people don't even know that it's not necessary for you to only take a bond or a home loan with the bank that you bank with. So once you know what you qualify for, say for instance you want to buy a house of 1.5 million, but you qualify for 3 million rand. You don't take a house of 3 million because there are other costs that you must also consider when you buy a house. And I will get into these costs later. The reason why I say don't take the maximum of what you qualify for is when interest rates go up and up and up. If you have taken the maximum that you qualify for, when the interest rates go up, your home loan will increase and you might get into trouble. You might get behind with the repayment of your bond. So take an amount that will still leave some leeway for you to play around with. It doesn't mean if you qualify for 3 million that you must take a house for 3 million rand. So that's the one point. The other point that you must consider is do your research. Oh my gosh. When before you even buy a house, you have a specific area in mind. So you go and you go onto the different property websites and you see how much property is selling for in that specific area. That is important so that you don't pay more than what you have to, and also you please don't be a cheapskate and then want to undercut the seller too much. So do your research so that you can see that this is a reasonable offer to put in when you do find your house. I just want to go back again to why it's important for you to go before you even go to look at houses, to know how much you qualify for. The bank doesn't deal with emotions and sentiments and likes and dislikes. The bank doesn't know you. They can only deal with how much you qualify for and what you can afford. So if you don't know what you qualify for and you go and look, you qualify maybe for 1.5 million rand to buy a house, né? But the house that you want, it's 1.6 million. And you put in your offer to purchase and you cross your fingers and you pray and you hope that the bank will say yes because, oh, this is your dream house and you really, 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 really want this house. You're not going to get it. Because the bank only deals with numbers and what your numbers tell them. As an accountant, I can confirm this. They don't know who you are. Only the numbers of what your bank statements and your financial information is telling them. So it's know what you qualify for, do your research. So then the third thing, before we get into the cost of buying a house, is, and this is important, you have the power to negotiate on the price of the house. If you found yours, you see this house now, and this house, you qualify for 3 million rand, but you don't want to take the whole 3 million, and you see a house for 2.9 million, you negotiate. You can say to the owner, listen, you can say, if you use an estate agent, you can say to the agent, listen, let's start off negotiating maybe from 2.7 million. And then, remember the house is on the market for 2.9. You put in an offer to purchase for 2.7 or 2.5. And then you start playing around with the numbers. So the third important point is negotiate on the price that you see. You don't have to pay the price that you see, but you also don't want to be a cheapskate. You can't, the house is 2.9 million. And then you want to put in an offer for 1.9 million. That's a whole million rand less. Be reasonable and be realistic. So those are the 3 points. Know what you qualify for. Do your research to compare the different prices to know what are the houses, the prices of the houses in the area that you want. And then number 3, negotiate. So to get to living in a house like this, or any dream house for that matter, it comes with certain costs. So let's look at what are the costs when you want to buy a house. There is your bond, registration and transfer costs, moving costs, repairs and maintenance, utilities, rates and levies, security, and home insurance. So this is separate. This is when you put in your offer to purchase, the document that you sign. Then you must be prepared before you even move in. You must make provision for these 7 costs. And let's face it, especially first-time buyers, it's a big shock when you buy the house and you realize, I have not budgeted for any of these things. My mind only stopped at the cost, the price that the house was selling for. So let's look at the first cost, bond and registration. what is bond and registration fees? Those fees are paid to the bond attorney. Yes, when you buy a house, it is a legal transaction. It is a contract that you enter. So the bond must be registered in your name. So the attorney they facilitate the whole process. And the attorney is appointed by the bank to register the bond in the home in your name, in the buyer's name. The bond registration fees are dependent on the size of the loan. The higher the loan is, I'm sorry to tell you, the higher the fees. So they say that you must put aside at least 10% to cover the additional cost, right? So that is easier said than done. To set aside 10%, which means that you must have savings. And the reality is that most people don't have savings. So let's see the cost of that bond registration fees. Remember, it was saying that it says here, the higher the loan, the higher the fees. And remember, with a bond, is you are borrowing that money from the bank. So in essence, for as long as you are paying the bond, the house, it is not your property. It still belongs to the bank. So now let's see, how much do you pay? And this is the pain. If your bond is 2,250,000, you will pay around 32,000 for the bond registration. 650,000, you will pay more or less 8,400. And if the bond is 2 million, it will be 16,560. And listen what they say here, it excludes VAT. So you must still pay another 15% on top of that. But if you buy a house of 150,000 rand and below, your bond fee is 376 rand. So for 600,000 to 800,000, you will pay 852. So can you see now, if you keep it to below R1 million, your bond registration fees, let me just correct that. It's actually 8,400 when it's 650. This is more realistic. I don't know where this amount is coming from. But this is to give you an idea. When you see the houses advertised for 2,250,000, you negotiate that price. So the price you pay will affect the bond registration. So this is on top of the money that you have to pay for the bond. So let's look at the moving cost. This is another important thing. You know, when you move, when you buy your house, it's easy to forget that where you are, it's going to cost you money to get from where you are to where you are going to. So now you have to pay someone to transport your furniture. Unless you are lucky enough to have a 10-ton truck, then you don't have to pay anyone. You can just load your stuff and make multiple trips. But most people, you have to pay. And the cost, it will vary. They say obviously between 5,000 and 15,000. But if you live in Pretoria and you know a few people from Sunnyside, you can obviously pay less than that. And if you know how to negotiate, and if it's around the corner that you move, you don't have to pay 5,000 rand. But if you have a lot of stuff and you must hire a big truck, you must budget for it. So that covers the moving cost. As well, then let's look at, we've covered bond registration. Here is another thing. You know, there's something called municipalities. So when you buy a property, right, you must register for your electricity with the municipality, because remember, now you are the new owner. So you must go and register to have your electricity connected. Okay, this is more realistic. You're going to need roughly around about 1,000 rand to connect your electricity. And then if you have fiber as well, that's another payment. So it's electricity and it's your fiber connections. So you must add that in as well. So can you see, to live in this place, to move to your dream house, the cost involved to get to from where you are to where you want to be. Let's say, no, it doesn't end there. Everybody wants the piece of their pie. There's also, remember your electricity, then there's also rates and levies. There's also homeowners association fees. So when you live in a complex, you must pay rates and taxes to the municipality. You must pay your monthly electricity, and then you must also pay your monthly levies. When you have a standalone house, you don't pay levies. You only pay rates and you only pay municipal rates for waste removal and for the water. And a very important thing, in South Africa, we want to be safe in our areas. We are obsessed with crime. We are. So we want to be safe where we are. So some areas, some properties, they are not inside a complex, but they are in a boomed off area. Hey, Wena, do you think those boom off areas come free of charge? You need to pay for those boomed off areas. And within those areas, they also have security. You need to contribute to the security as well. Whether you like it or not, Baba, you have to pay up. So when you want to buy a house, to own a property in South Africa, these are the costs when you buy. Let's just go back to when you are still buying the house. The cost involved. It is your bond registration and your transfer cost. As a note, the transfer fees, that is the tax, okay, that you have to pay to the government. No. The transfer fees is to get it transferred into your name. That's also money. The bond registration the bond registration and the transfer cost is to get the property into your name. When you buy property for below 1.1 million rand in South Africa, you don't pay any transfer cost. Properties less than 1.1 million, you don't pay transfer cost. You must calculate your moving cost, repairs and maintenance, utilities, rates and levies, security, and home insurance. Why repair and maintenance? Hey, some people, they buy you a property that when you get, some of the things are missing. You have to fix from where you go to where you move. So now you must budget on how to fix the property to get it up to the standard that you want to. It costs money. So can you see now? All the things you have to calculate when you buy the house. Home registration and transfer cost, moving cost, to register the electricity in your name, to make provision for the rates and the levies, security, home insurance. Because also, when you have a bond with a bank, it is compulsory that you must take out home insurance. This isn't the insurance that is content of home that you take out, like your normal insurance, like your outsurance, mutual and federal, and your normal insurance companies. This one you take out with the bank. This is for the structure of the house. So all these costs involved. The change to go from a property from a tenant to an owner. When you rent, when something is broken, you're like, landlord, landlady, I need you. Can you come and fix this for me? And then it's their problem. They must fix it. But when you become the homeowner, you must fix it. There's no one you can look to. You must fix it. It's a wonderful feeling to own your own property, because you can paint the colors you want, you can renovate the way you want, you can make it your home, but it comes with responsibilities. You need to pay levies, you have to pay rates and taxes, you have to pay that is the municipality, then there's the bond payment, there's insurance. If something breaks, you need to fix it. That is the responsibility of being a home owner. I will continue making more shows about how you can pay less interest when you go in, because you can also negotiate with the bank on how to reduce your interest before you buy the house. I will also talk about the benefits of using an estate agent and the benefits of selling your house privately. So watch this channel for more shows about also how to invest in property, buying property, selling property, investing in it, the pitfalls, the cost, and also the benefits. So keep on watching this channel. This is only the beginning. My name is Olivia. I am an accountant and I'm the owner of Profits and Books, Bookkeeping and Accounting Services. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think and share your questions, your concerns, and anything that you want to know about property. Thank you so much for watching.